So, what happened to your parents? If you don't mind me asking. I mean, I assume what happened to them is what happened to just about everyone's parents. You're just so young. Didn't think you could have made it on your own for so long, but maybe you did.
My parents went on vacation and left me with a babysitter. And they never came back. We went to Savannah to find them, but they were already dead.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
This man found me and took care of me. His name was Lee. He taught me how to survive.
What happened to him?
I killed him. He got bitten, protecting me. And I had to kill him before he turned.
Wow.
I had to.
In 2012, a small narrative-driven game by Telltale Games reshaped how players thought about storytelling in video games. Telltale's The Walking Dead wasn't just another zombie game. It was a deeply emotional experience, built around hard choices, haunting consequences, and one of gaming's most iconic relationships, that of Lee Everett and Clementine. Across 4 seasons, Telltale took us on a journey through heartbreak, hope, survival, and sacrifice. But how well does the full story hold up now that it's complete? What did Telltale get right? What did they get wrong? And what made this series resonate with so many players, even a decade later? Let's take a long walk back through the story, the characters, and the legacy of Telltale's The Walking Dead. Now, the first season begins with Lee Everett, a convicted murderer on his way to prison, when the world suddenly falls apart. He meets Clementine, a young girl whose parents are missing. From there, the story becomes one of surrogate parenthood, with Lee protecting Clementine while trying to navigate a collapsing society. Each episode introduces new survivors: Kenny, Lily, Ben, and many others along the way, and choices that feel weighty, even when they don't drastically actually alter the plot. Now, the emotional climax comes in episode 5, when Lee, bitten by a walker, must say goodbye to Clementine. Whether you tell her to shoot him or leave him, it's a gut punch that still hurts to this day. Now, in Season 2, Clementine becomes the protagonist. Season 2 explores themes of trust, leadership, and coming of age. She falls in with a new group of survivors, including Luke, Alvin, and the increasingly unpredictable return of Kenny, who returns in an even more unhinged state than the first season. The choices become harsher, more ambiguous. Do you trust a stranger? Do you trust these new groups of survivors? Do you side with Kenny or Jane in the final decision? Season 2 ends with a powerful choice. Who will raise Clementine's future? Kenny, Jane, or Clementine herself? Now, Season 3 shifted focus even more and gave us another new protagonist, Javier Garcia, a former baseball player trying to keep his family together. While Clementine is present throughout the season, she's more of a supporting character as she searches for AJ, the baby from Season 2. Now, the story explores themes of family, loyalty, and personal redemption. Players choose between Javier's loyalty to his brother David and his relationship with Kate, David's wife. While narratively solid, many players felt Clementine's reduced role made the story feel disconnected from the series and less emotional to the core. But I slightly disagree with that sentiment, because for me, Season 3 in of itself was a really fun season, even if we just remove the sentiment of not being able to play as Clementine. Now, Season 4 and the final season, Clementine returns to center stage. Now a hardened teen, she's raising AJ, much like Lee once raised her. The story focuses on their relationship and their integration into a boarding school of child survivors. The central conflict pits them against a group of raiders led by Lily, who is a callback from season 1, and the climax forces Clementine to face her past while shaping AJ's moral compass. The final choice, whether AJ spares someone's life based on Clementine's teaching, brings the series full circle to that moment we had with Lee. And then in a poetic twist, Clementine is also bitten, and we brace for another Lee-style farewell. But this time the game subverts expectations. AJ saves her by amputating her leg, and Clementine lives. It's a hopeful, if bittersweet, end to a long journey. Now, when it comes to breaking down the characters, I would say Lee is the emotional anchor of season 1. A flawed but noble man. His arc is one of redemption. The genius of his character lies in the player's ability to shape him. A gentle mentor, if you will. Hardened survivor, or something in between, which is probably where most players ended up having their Lee fall into. His final moments solidify him as one of gaming's most beloved protagonists. Now, with Clementine, arguably one of the best written child characters in video games, Clementine grows with the players across all 4 seasons. From a scared little girl to a capable leader and a mother figure. Her evolution is believable and powerful. Her moral compass becomes the player's own, and her survival through it all is both a triumph and reflection of our choices. Now, with Kenny is volatile, but he's also loyal. And he's a deeply flawed man who remains a constant force across season 1 and 2. His arc is marked by grief and stubbornness. Players often had to choose between siding with him or challenging his erratic behavior. His character, however, epitomizes how trauma changes people, for better or for worse. Now, AJ, aka Alvin Jr., born in season 2 and raised in season 4, AJ represents the future. Unlike Clementine, who grew up before the apocalypse, AJ knows nothing but survival. The player's choices fully mold him. Do you teach him compassion, or do you teach him ruthlessness? His final actions reflect the culmination of Clementine's teachings. Now, Javier Garcia. Though he's not as iconic as Lee or Clementine, I feel like Javier brings a more mature, nuanced take on the survivor experience. His conflicts of balancing love, loyalty, and leadership are compelling in of themselves once you remove the fact that the players were already attached to Lee and Clem, so there was already that, resentment towards Javier. However, fans often criticize his arc for, again, sidelining Clem. But if we take it as a standalone arc, he's actually a really well-written character, and season 3 was a well-written season in of itself, just that it failed to handle being a connecting tissue between season 2 and season 4. So if it was like a DLC standalone, I think people would have embraced it a little more, versus if it tried to be the connecting tissue between season 2 and season 3. Now, for me, I think the biggest strengths for The Walking Dead, I would say, would be the emotional storytelling. Telltale's greatest strength was its emotional depth, the relationships, particularly between Lee and Clementine. All these relationships were raw, they were real, and they were devastatingly human. Also, when it came to the meaningful choices. And I know in the comments, people are going to bash me because there's a lot of choices in Telltale's games that aren't really meaningful. It's kind of the illusion of choice because, the narrative is still going to go a certain way. But even when players knew their choices might not change the big plot points, the emotional weight of most of these decisions kind of mattered. And that's sort of what I would say Telltale did really well. Because who you sided with, who you comforted, who you killed, it was about how you shaped the story rather than the ending that you got in the end. Another strength I would say mainly is the character-driven drama. The Walking Dead succeeded because it focused less on zombies and more on people. The undead were sort of a backdrop because the real horror comes from betrayal, grief, and survival ethics. And then the last point I would love to say is Clementine's arc. Again, I mentioned it earlier in the essay, Clementine is one of the most well-written, believable child characters, I would say, in gaming. Because across the 4 seasons, her arc is one of gaming's greatest triumphs. She isn't a static protagonist, right? She evolves with the world around her, and players helped shape that evolution in every single season, including season 3 when she wasn't actually one of the protagonists. Now, when I coming back to the weaknesses, the main one I would like to bring up, I would say, is something I already mentioned in one of the strengths, would be the illusion of choice. Because despite all the branching paths, most choices led to similar outcomes. Now, this illusion, while it's emotionally effective, sometimes reduces the replay value of the game. Because like I said, it is a strength to be able to shape the outcomes of the story, but we weren't able to change the outcomes of the story. And so that's where I would say it's sort of an illusion of choice issue. This is something I've mentioned on the channel before. Detroit Become Human was able to do this very well because they gave you so many choices and so many ways that there wasn't a feeling of like plot armor with any of the main characters. Now, I'll bring up 2 more weaknesses. One of them I will bring up is the pacing issue, because some of the episodes, especially in season 3 and 4, they kind of suffered from uneven pacing. They felt like the climaxes were a bit rushed, too much exposition up front. And the last weakness I would say is a combination of 2 things. I would say 1, it's character bloat, and 2, it would be the season 3 disconnect. Like I mentioned, later seasons introduced too many characters too quickly, with so many names and faces and different storylines that they didn't fully explore. It became harder to grow attached to those characters before they died or disappeared. Unlike how we were able to do it in season 1. I would say season 1 probably did those character introductions the best. And then when I'm talking about the disconnect, I would say by shifting focus away from Clementine, they kind of alienated a lot of fans. And even though Javier's story was solid in its own, the narrative shift kind of felt like a detour. So I do feel like season 3 maybe should have been a standalone DLC or even like a bonus season, rather than the connecting tissue between season 2 and 4. Like I was mentioning, they could have done better to connect the 2 stories, because it felt like a great story smack in the middle of another great story. Like it felt, it didn't feel interconnected. Now, I was about to say what Storytel did well. What Telltale did well, I would say. The emotional core, they nailed the emotional storytelling. Few games have made players cry, yell, and sit in stunned silence the way that The Walking Dead did. I know The Last of Us is another one that's also struck an emotional chord with a lot of people, and I think The Walking Dead is also right up there. I would say the character arcs, the development of Lee, Clementine, and Kenny all stand as masterclass in character writing. Player investment, I would say by framing the game around the human choices. Telltale did make every decision feel like it mattered, even though again there is that slight illusion of choice, even though it didn't change the ending. And again, the world building was really good, because they didn't rely too much on the comic or TV show knowledge. We did get those characters that were thrown into the story as nods to existing characters in the show and the comics, but the series was able to create its own compelling world filled with moral ambiguity and real stakes without relying on the source material too much, I would say. Now, where I would say they fell short, again, is the choice fatigue. Once players caught on to that illusion of choice, the emotional impact kind of faltered as the seasons went on. And then I would say also an overexpansion. Again, the success of season 1 led Telltale to expand too fast, churning out multiple titles without really improving their engine or systems. And this eventually contributed to the company's collapse, because we're still waiting for The Wolf Among Us, the 2nd season. There's just been a lot of projects that got shelved and canned and, didn't go through because of, the issues in the end. And then last thing again I'll bring up is season 3's identity crisis. I swear it's the last time I'll bring it up. because I think changing protagonists and sidelining Clementine kind of broke the series' momentum, leaving a lot of players disconnected, even though, like I said, in of itself, it's not a bad season, but it did disrupt that momentum and the narrative arc that was going on between season 2 and 4. But again, in conclusion, I would say the legacy of Telltale's The Walking Dead is, it's a legacy of being more than just a game. It's a landmark in narrative-driven storytelling. It proved that video games could deliver emotional experiences on par with books or film. And we're seeing it a lot more these days because so many games are being adapted into TV shows, movies, because Hollywood right now is creatively bankrupt. And whenever Hollywood gets creatively bankrupt, they will either go back and pull source material from amazing books, or they're now pulling source material from amazing games. And while a lot of these shows have been translated well into TV shows and movies, I feel like video games are currently the highest form of storytelling, because there's just something about being able to play the character and actually influence the decisions versus just to watch the decisions, that I feel gives an extra touch. But again, I am a gamer, so I am naturally going to say that. I would be interested to hear from non-gamers if you guys feel the same way, that if you were to take like some of your favorite TV shows and had you played them as games first, would you love the game more than maybe you love the show? I don't know. I feel like that answer is always a yes for gamers, but again, like I said, for non-gamers, it may be a little bit different. Now, The Walking Dead also gave us Clementine, a character we helped raise, protect, and eventually become, right? And again, while not without flaws, the technical or narrative, Telltale's The Walking Dead remains one of the most impactful game series of its generation. It inspired a wave of story-first titles, from Life is Strange to Until Dawn, and it reminded us that in a world full of the undead, the hardest battles are the ones we fight within. And in the end, it taught us something very human, that even in a world gone to hell, love, family, and hope still matter. And sometimes, that's all that we have. Again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Let me know if The Walking Dead was one of your favorite games, or if you didn't like it. That is fine too. If this retrospective meant something to you, also let me know down in the comments. What were your favorite moments from Telltale's The Walking Dead? When you played throughout the story, did you side with Kenny? Did you side with Jane? Did you let AJ pull the trigger? All the goods, bits and bobs and everything. Again, if you're interested in watching a few more deep dives, I will leave those playlists down in the comments below. I have done a lot of deeper video essays, but I did want to challenge myself to start doing some of these shorter video essays, which, you know, it's still a deep dive in a retrospective, but it's not as deep as some of my longer, like 30 to 40 minute essays, in which I had to do like a lot of research and a lot of deep diving. But I figured something that's a little more bite-sized and digestible would be fun. And I've been doing that with the series that I call Masterpiece or Trash. And so this would be, I think, my 7th or 8th video of the likes. But yeah, I don't remember the count. But yeah, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay dangerous, stay blessed. And in the words of Lee Everett, don't be afraid.
AJ!
That's for sure. That kind of love.
It brings out the best in us. I felt it with Lee. Every time I would look at AJ, I could hear him in my head, helping me, guiding me. No! You monsters! I love you, goofball. My little goofball. Oh my god! to hurt anyone.
It's not that easy.
Still not bitten. Please. Please don't be one of them. Please don't become a walker.
There's only one thing you can do. You know that.
I don't know if I can.
You have to kill me.
You have to shoot me, honey.
Don't let me become one of them.
No.
It's okay.
Good boy. I see you slipping away. Getting more violent, more angry, more lost. Enough, AJ. Murder is murder, nothing else. A human life is precious.
No, food is precious. Bullets are precious. We need those to live. But we don't need bad people who make things wrong.
What if Lee hadn't gone tearing across half of Georgia looking for you? A lot of folks died to make that happen. A lot of folks died to get us this far. We owe it to them to see this done.
Moving forward. Keep moving. Don't make me do this.
We can't give up. We can't give up. I need you.
I need you. You don't need me. Not anymore. I love you. Don't ever forget that.
Screw it.
Right there.
Shit.
Imagine having to put down your own brother.
Oh my god.
Oh. Die last time. Come on. Let's go. Woo. Let's go. It's those father-son moments again. Oh, but now Freya's here as well.
That if you just build great games, everything would turn around.
And then the great games point is the one that I wanted to argue against heavily, because what is the point of your console if it's not for games? Like, what is the point of having a console if you're just going to do Game Pass and cloud gaming? Like,